everyone, and welcome to FlowFest V5. And thank you for that epic countdown for bringing us in for V5 of FlowFest. It's so good to be back with everyone, and thank you very much for attending. It's pretty crazy to see how far this event has come and how we've developed it. So welcome to FlowFest if you're new, but welcome back, and thank you for supporting it if you've joined our other ones as well. So let's get started. So if you are new to FlowFest, I'll give you a breakdown of what it is. And it's pretty simple. It's a hackathon-style event, this time with over 300 competitors designed to challenge, educate, and inspire you with Salesforce Flow. So essentially the crux of it is we've got a bunch of competitors which have been selected, and they're going to go through a series of Flow challenges. And only one is going to come out to be the FlowFest Champion. And I'll talk to you a little bit more about how the challenges work in a second. Just to introduce myself, so my name is Ben McCarthy. I'm founder of SalesforceBen.com, and I'm going to be your host today, alongside Eric, who I'll introduce in a minute, and also our speaker, Pete. So before we go any further, I'd just like to give a shout out to Salto, who's our sponsor, and this event wouldn't be possible without them, so massive thank you to Salto. If you don't know who Salto are, they've got a complete DevOps platform for Salesforce that helps with data and metadata deployment. So it's got features such as metadata search. If you're familiar with the where is it used button in Salesforce to find out where a piece of metadata is being used, Salto has that feature, but on steroids, a lot more helpful. You can compare and deploy changes across orgs, and they've also got version control for metadata and data records on CPQ. And if you've ever tried to deploy CPQ before, you know you need a tool like this, so check it out. Should be a link in the comments as well. So how does FlowFest work? So we've got our 300 competitors, and they've actually started around half an hour ago. So they're going through a number of qualifying flow challenges at the moment. So they should be done in about 15 minutes, half an hour. And out of those 300 competitors who can compete in the qualifying flow challenges, the fastest 4 are going to go head to head. So if you haven't joined FlowFest, well, if you didn't join the last one, you'll notice this is quite a big change. So now we're getting four FlowFest competitors on this stream, so you can actually see what they're doing and how they're building their flows, and it makes it a lot more exciting. Before it was kind of looking at dashboards to see how people are progressing, but I think we've nailed down the formula now. So it's going to be a head-to-head competition live on this StreamYard. And then in about an hour, we're going to have the winner announced. And then after that, we're going to go into a little after show where we'll hopefully bring the FlowFest Champion on screen as well as the runners up, and we can have a little discussion on how they found it. I'd also like to give a massive shout out to our judges. So the event definitely wouldn't be possible without them. A lot of these judges have worked on all 5 FlowFests, which is pretty amazing. And they're in the background helping create the challenges, but also validating the challenges once the competitors have done it to just make sure they fit the criteria that's been determined. So thank you very much to Tom, Pete, Warren, Vanessa, Yumi, Andy, and Simon. Simon and Yumi, I think it's just those 2, but our previous FlowFest champions. So thank you very much for coming back and supporting the event. And what do you get for winning FlowFest? So 2nd to 4th, so these are all going to be the head-to-head competitors, are going to get a cert voucher. And the first prize is also going to get a cert voucher. But the main prize here is the ability to call yourself a FlowFest champion, of which there are only going to be 5 in the world after today. So I'm going to bring in Eric now, if you're ready, Eric, from your busy duties behind the scenes. Hey, Eric.
Hello.
How's it going?
We're excited. I mean, this is really, everyone already kicked off. It's the first time that we are doing FlowFest where we took off the limitations and we're just going all in. All the competitors that applied up until yesterday were able to compete. And we have over 300 people that signed up this time. A lot of excitement. And like you mentioned, like we were doing the head-to-head again this time, which was a big ad. And we captured a lot of feedback from the competitors and what they're looking for. And we really got a chance to implement a lot of cool stuff. One of the biggest pieces that they were asking is like, we all want to compete. Before we were trying to limit, for those that aren't aware, like putting all of this together. When like I'll never forget when Ben first when I first approached Ben with this idea and we were discussing this, like you texted me and you're like, how many people do you think you will attend? And I'm like, I know, maybe 10, best case 100. And on the first event, we went well past 1,000 people that registered. And we immediately said, okay, we have to start putting processes in place. We built an entire package. So everyone that's competing, as they complete their challenges are submitted to our master org, where we get to monitor and approve and do all of those pieces together. So a lot of great feedback in terms of streamlining the process, being able to take on more and more challengers. I think the first one we did 100, then we went to 200, and this is the first one that it's, you know, no bars or no limits, and we managed to get over 300 folks that registered or competing, and we'll see, because for those that are new to FlowFest and watching this for the first time, FlowFest V1 was won by Yumi representing Israel, but FlowFest V2 through V4 has been won by France. So the World Cup of Salesforce, you know, has a lot of stars on the France jersey. Let's see if we can change that around this time, where France is going to go. I know there's a couple of folks in the competitor room that have stood up and said, hey, we're representing France again, and they're very psyched to try to continue holding on to the top spot. So a lot of great stuff coming along. And for those that aren't aware, what we do as an educational event, one of the biggest things that we're trying to do this time around is, or we always try, but we emphasize, is trying to use best practices and trying to use what's the latest and greatest. So we do walkthrough videos, so that way we'll share the challenges with everyone here. That way, after the event, our goal is to be able to provide the challenges that the competitors themselves have gone through and give you an opportunity to be able to try them out yourself. You're welcome to go to www.flowfest.fans, and you can check out the challenges. We haven't posted the V5 challenges yet. We'll talk a little bit about them today, and you'll see the videos. Now, we always try to design these challenges based on new functionality. So for this one, we're doing one challenge with data tables. So we're asking folks to be able to do an interesting challenge with data tables, where we want them to be able to display kind of like a SQL query, but for end users, to be able to, in a data table, display the top 10 accounts with the most number of open cases. And it may sound simple, but there is a couple of tricky bits that we're looking to see who can do that together, and who can put that together well and quickly. And the second one, which is the first, and we're super excited about this, is an HTTP callout. So for those of you that are new to Flow or have seen the feature and haven't had a chance to play around with it, our competitors are doing an HTTP callout. So that way, part of their challenge is to be able to make a call to an API service, a free API service that we found, to be able to retrieve zip code information and help validate and complete the missing pieces to their challenge. So a lot of great stuff that is going on. And those are the two qualifier challenges that we have for our competitors to work within these 30 minutes. So once they complete these, we will take it on to the final challenge, which, like Ben mentioned, is going to be a very exciting head-to-head challenge, a very interesting use case, I think, and hopefully we can inspire a couple of the folks here to try out some new skills and flows, or maybe try out some new ideas, maybe even take something back to their company, their organization, that could be potentially useful and that users will like. So Ben, with that, that's my walkthrough of what we have. And I'll pass it back to you so we can kind of get the show on the road. But thank you everyone for joining, as always. Thank you for registering. I can't thank enough to everyone that registered. Your support matters. It helps us go to Salesforce. Salesforce, the Trailhead Academy, has provided the Salesforce certification vouchers for our competitors. we have a strength in numbers, and you registering and helping show support for your country, for your company, for whatever you want to declare support, or just to register to get more information or get the links to be able to be here today with us. It makes a big difference, really does. I can't thank you guys enough. So yeah, thank you. And Ben, I'll pass it back to you for now.
Cheers, Eric. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for everything you do for FlowFest behind the scenes as well. Yes, and it was around about last FlowFest or just after that France beat England in the World Cup and then won their third FlowFest in the world. So I was a little bit sour about that. But we'll see how today turns out. And many congrats to France, because that is very, very impressive. All right, next up. So just before we get stuck into the head-to-head, I'm going to introduce Pete, if he's ready behind the scenes, to come on and give us a bit of an insight into what a FlowFest challenge actually looks like, because there's only been a handful of competitors compared to the amount of viewers that we get for FlowFest. So it's always nice to get a bit of an insight into how one of these challenges works and also how you solve it. Of course, you will see this in the head-to-head as well, but that'll be a much more complex challenge. This is a fairly straightforward one, I think. So Pete, I'm going to add you to the stream now. Hey, Pete, how are you?
All right, pretty good. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, all good. Good to have you here. I'll hand over to you now then, if you wouldn't mind sharing the screen.
I am bringing up my screen here now. So every year there's a lot, every iteration of FlowFest, there's a lot of scrutiny behind the scenes around, what makes a good challenge, what doesn't make a good challenge. And we've definitely gotten better over time. And hopefully you can see my screen with my extremely sophisticated visual editing tool, Microsoft Paint.
If you could zoom in a bit, actually, Pete, that'd be great. Just a few notches.
There we go.
Perfect.
So this is one of the challenges from FlowFest V4. And we didn't have this concept originally, but we came up with the idea of a fix my flow. And this is something I encounter constantly in my day-to-day work, is somebody bringing me in without context and asking me to fix the thing that they built. And if you think it's hard to fix your own stuff, not having that context does add a layer of difficulty and complexity to it. So the basic idea behind this Fix Your Flow challenge is that, the admin has been just trying to test out different things that work in the flow, what doesn't. And they built a flow that the purpose of this flow is to check to see if the current user is the owner of a particular account. This comes up literally all the time. It's a very common check that you have to do in reporting. You're going to use formulas to do this a lot of times if the lookup that you're referring to is not the owner of a record necessarily. This is a very common check. You have to do this sort of stuff all the time. And we all kind of agreed that this particular challenge was downright evil and absolutely needed to be included in the competition. And I'm going to show you why. So we actually start with this flow complete, and then you have to figure out why it's not working. Oh, multiple tabs, too many tabs. There we go. So we should be looking at the flow editor right now. So we've got a get record node that's going to get some accounts. We're going to run a decision element to see if the currently logged in user owns the particular account that we are looking for. If they do, we're going to take this yes path. We're going to assign some values and create a task. And then we call this subflow node. Now the subflow is tied to the fact that this is part of FlowFest. Basically, this is going to capture what is supposed to be the correct data based off of a data set that we have defined. It gets sent off to our hosting org, and this is how we pre-validate some of the challenges so that we can make it a little bit more manageable for a small team of judges to be able to rapidly iterate across a large number of participants and have a competition that takes place in a reasonable amount of time. Now, obviously, if this flow did everything that it's supposed to do, we wouldn't be having this conversation. So I'm going to go ahead and debug it. And back in the old days of the flow builder, we would get these big, long, exhaustive debug emails that had just node after node after node. And a lot of people complained that they were very unintelligible, difficult to read. And I disagree. I think that they have every single piece of information that you could ever possibly want to figure out what's going in the flow or going on in the flow. But now not only do we have debug in Canvas, so we don't have to wait for that error message to come through, and maybe it doesn't because we have email deliverability turned off in our sandbox. But now they actually have this improved debugger that kind of like collapses all of the nodes down here so that we don't have just this giant wall of text that's difficult to understand. Now, it looks like the decision has taken the wrong path here. And while I know that I own the record, that get record should be returning, the flow doesn't seem to agree. Now, there's a bit of a tricky pickle here. We always walk into the assumption of, well, I built it. It's doing the thing. I know my logic is sound. What could possibly be wrong? So my first bit of advice to you is drop the assumptions. Get yourself a rubber duck and explain to the rubber duck, node by node, formula by formula, variable by variable, this is what my flow is supposed to be doing. And a lot of times you'll catch the mistake on it just by doing that. But if we open up this decision element, some of you are going to be able to, at a very quick glance, see exactly what is going wrong with this. But for those of you that don't, we're going to walk through it. Now, the root cause of this issue has something to do with these record IDs. So I'm going to copy this record ID onto my clipboard, and I'm going to pop it into my text editor just so that we can take a look at it. Now, a lot of people think that record IDs are just a jumble of letters and numbers. And while that is actually true, the structure of this string actually contains meaning. So the first 3 characters, that's our object prefix. This is going to tell us what it's coming from. In this case, it's a 005, which means we are looking at a user record. A lot of times, that right there, what those first 3 characters are, is going to tell you what your issue is. Oh, hey, snap, this is a lookup to account, and I'm trying to populate it with an opportunity. Silly me, that's the problem. The next 2 characters after that indicate the server on which the record was originally created. I've always looked for a use for being able to find something cool I could do with that. I've yet to come up with an interesting use case other than, well, technically, if you have a site switch, you can tell records that were created before that happened. I don't know how practical that is, but it's nifty to know. Next, we have a character that Salesforce defines as reserved for future development. It is always and will always be a 0 until that time comes. This next big, long stretch of numbers is ultimately just a really big number. It's a really big number written in base 62. And this is the actual identifier that tells you it is this particular record. This last string of 3 characters right here, this is the really important part of this. This is effectively a checksum, and it's for systems that don't support case sensitivity, because this is a case sensitive identifier. So the difference between a capital S and a lowercase s is whether you have the right record or whether you have the wrong record. And that's why Salesforce IDs come in a 15-character flavor and an 18-character flavor. Ultimately, we're still talking about this instance of the user object that was created on this server, but we're talking about the one that has a lowercase z and has a lowercase u and has a lowercase z. And that's how we arrive at these 3 characters. Now, why are we going through all this? Well, first off, I have learned that if you teach someone how to solve a problem versus teaching someone why that is the solution, you're talking about a huge difference in the retention of that knowledge. And just because if I click this series of buttons in this order, the thing is going to happen, that's not the right way to learn. You want to understand the why and the underlying reason behind it, because then you can take that knowledge and apply it to a million different use cases. And I assure you, this is not the only way that this problem is going to rear its head. So let's take a look back at our flow and see if we can see a difference here. So I'm noticing that when I'm looking up on my get record, the owner ID has the AAA at the end. But if I'm looking at the $user ID, which is calling the global variables from user, it does not have that AAA at the end. So the get record that's querying the account in question is returning the 18-character form of the ID. By contrast, when I'm looking at $user here, I'm looking at the 15-character version of the ID. So fundamentally, both of these things are talking about the same record, but it's almost like one of them's calling me Pete and one of them is calling me Mr. Peter Thomas Lyons. So really, that is the same thing. Now, there's a couple of ways to solve for this one. Before we do that, though, I do just want to point out, by the way, those object prefixes that I mentioned, you can check out Daniel Ballinger's Fish of Prey. If you Google Salesforce object prefix decoder, he actually has a list of all of the prefixes of an object. So if you get a random Salesforce ID and it's a standard object and not a custom object, it's going to be in this list. And just think to yourself for a moment, how many standard objects are there? Are there 50? Are there 100? This list has 2,400 entries in it. I think I've memorized 7 or 8. So back over to this flow. Now, how are we going to solve for it? I'm going to present 3 possible solutions. There is the right way, there is the wrong way, and there is the Pete way. Now, the Pete way is probably the most convoluted. That's why it's the Pete way. The way that we arrive at those characters is by kind of looping over the Salesforce record ID, breaking it into chunks of 5, and then looking at each one of those and saying, well, is this one lower? Is this one upper? Is this one lower? Is this one upper? Turning that into a binary number results in, 0 to 32 or 1 to 32. We turn that into letters. Do you need to remember that? Not necessarily. There are tons of utilities out there that can convert between 15 and 18 character IDs. You can write an Excel formula to do it, or you can also write a very convoluted Salesforce formula field to do it. Next, we'll cover the right way to do this, because again, this is all about best practice. Salesforce supports the case safe ID function. The job of this function is to convert a 15 character to an 18 character ID. That's what you should actually be doing. It's capturing the user ID, passing it into a formula, and using case safe ID on it. That's going to make sure that both of these IDs align, and that when it does its string comparison, you're going to get the same value. A quick runner-up, you could also use the mid function or the right function or other text manipulations to say, well, let's just chop off those 3 characters from the end of the 18 character ID and call that good enough. I would call those, a little bit janky and not quite fast enough. Now I'm going to show you the quick and dirty solution for how to actually solve this by making only one simple change to the flow. And I'm getting a little bit of lag here, but it is opening up on me. So right here, we're saying that the owner ID, which is our 18 character version, is equal to the user ID. That's our 15 character version. All I'm going to do is I'm going to click this drop down. And when the drop down loads up for me, I'm going to change my operator from equals to contains. Now, because the contains function is case sensitive, you're not going to have to worry about those cheeky edge cases, which I have seen, where the only difference between your record IDs is one's got a capital S and one's got a lowercase s. That does come up. I have seen it happen. It's not the rarest thing in the universe. It's quite up there, but I would say it's more likely than you getting a royal flush. So you can do this. Now, this is the quick answer. Officially, best practice dictates you should be using the case safe ID function. When you teach other people how to do that, that is the correct by the book answer. But just switching the operator contains, it'll also get it done. Why do I think this one is not the perfect answer? Well, if you got these 2 backwards, it's not going to work, because your 15 character ID is not going to be contained, or is not going to contain your 18, but your 18 most definitely does contain your 15. So this is probably good enough to get the job done. But again, just real evil challenge. Don't assume that just, hey, I'm grabbing the owner ID from my account record. I'm looking at the owner. It's me. I'm the currently logged in user. I don't have 2 different Salesforce records. How could this possibly be? You got to drop those assumptions. Look at what the debugger is telling you with open eyes, be the Taoist uncarved block of puh, and don't come in there with your preconceptions about, I only have 1 user record and these 2 things must be the same. Just look at what the debugger is actually telling you with eyes unclouded by assumptions. And you'll find it's extremely informative. And in many cases, it will tell you exactly what you need to know to solve it. All right, that's what I got.
Pete, thank you so much. That was super interesting. I can see a lot of people in the comments love the Pete way. So thank you for presenting us with that.
Don't write 500 character formulas for what can be solved with a dropdown.
Nice. Wise words. Cheers, Pete. Thanks a lot. We'll see you in a bit.
Cheers.
All right, folks. So now I'm going to introduce you to Sagi, who is from Salto, from our sponsor. So Salto have sponsored the last few FlowFest, so we're super grateful for them and getting involved with the Salesforce Flow community. So I'm going to hand over to Sagi just to provide a few words on Salto.
Thank you, Ben. Hi, Ben. Thanks for the intro. Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Sagi. I'm a product marketing manager at Salto. Usually we have here Pablo Gonzalez representing us, but he wasn't able to join in today, so I'm filling in. For those of you who do not know us, Ben, would you mind skipping to the next one, please? The next slide. Cool. For those of you who do not know us, Salto has a DevOps platform for both Salesforce metadata, but also for CPQ configuration data. Thanks to our unique approach to configuration, we treat CPQ data and metadata exactly the same. So you can use all of our feature and capabilities for both in the exact same manner. Some of the capabilities you'll be able to see is the ability to identify dependencies and see where elements are being used, compare orgs and deploy changes between them. Our platform offers a really super selective deployment flow, so you can pick and choose exactly what you want to deploy. And we also allow you to integrate with Git and to push all your changes to Git and use a pull request, do rollbacks, all the good that Git has to offer. In today's demo, I'm going to show you a deploy flow for a CPQ product, but the exact same flow also applies to any other metadata type. And let me just upload the demo. Cool. So I have here my CPQ model, and I have here this product, the CPQ product, that is also linked to a price rule, that is linked to a price condition and a price action. So I'm going to go to Salto, where I can pick the source org and the target org. In this scenario, I'm going to deploy this product from UAT to production. I'm going to go ahead and click Compare and Deploy. And once I do, Salto will calculate all the differences between the two orgs and will display them in a table. You can use the built-in tabs to filter elements by their compare states. We have additions for elements that exist in UAT but not in production, modifications for elements that exist in both orgs but are different, and deletion for elements you may want to delete from your production environment. In this scenario, I already know the product that I want to deploy, so I can use the free text search bar to find it. And there it is. And I can click on it to see the full context. So you can see that in this case, the product exists in the production org, but it is different. There are 3 changes that Salto detected. The changes are displayed in a no-code view, so it's very easy to consume and understand. I can see here there is a different description, a different license type, and another one right here with the subscription license type. And so I'm going to select this product to add it to my deployment. And Salto also detects the price rule that we had seen earlier that was linked. So I'm going to add it as well. And another click on the price rule, and I can also see the other 2 dependencies, the price action and the price conditions. So it's very easy to add them through this flow. Once I'm happy with all the changes, I can go to the deployment preview step and see all the changes I'm about to push to production. And if I'm happy with all, I'm going to click deploy. And that's it. So the changes are now deployed successfully to my production org. The next and final step will be to push them to Git. So I click on push to Git. And Salto has already bundled all the deployed changes into a commit and pre-populated this commit method right here. You're going to see it in a sec in my repository. I'm going to click push. And you can see that this commit already have all the details here, the source environment, the target environment, the author of the change, and all the changes we just made, the new additions, the price section, the price condition, and the price rule, as well as the changes we made to the product. So that's it for today. That was our quick demo for today. If you like what you saw, and if you're experiencing issues with deploying with ChainSet or deploying CPQ object, we offer a 30-day free trial, so everyone can try all of our features through it. Once the trial ends, you will be downgraded to Salto's free plan. So we have a forever free plan that it includes all of our impact analysis capabilities, which means that even if you don't want to use Salto for deployment, you can still analyze the impact of changes you're about to make, see where things are used, and be smarter about the changes you're about to make. Yeah, that's it for me today. Thanks, Ben.
Thanks so much, Savi. Great presentation, and very relevant at the moment with all the Salesforce's metadata, especially with CPQ. So thank you very much. Thank you for supporting FlowFest as well.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Bye. All right, everyone. The time has nearly come. We are nearly ready for the head-to-head. I'm going to bring on Eric now, who can give us a bit more of an update to what's going on in the background. So how are we doing, Eric?
We're doing pretty good. We see already a couple of folks that have completed both submissions. We're wrapping up a couple of more reviews, and hopefully soon we'll get started with the head-to-head as folks will start joining in this StreamYard, our finalists, to get things going. So in the meantime, let's treat everyone for actual flow of this FlowFest, so everyone gets an idea of what's going on right now.
Let's do it. Perfect.
Let me go ahead and share my screen, and let's see if we can get this going. And for those that know me, this would be something extremely rare, as everyone knows that I'm a big auto layout fan. So big shout out to Yumi, because I'm taking Yumi because this will be probably easier to visualize this way. So actually, I should have quickly shared. Give me 1 second. Let me share here, and then we'll come back. So let's walk through exactly what the challenge entails for everyone that's watching. And then we will switch over back to the flow, and we will see what's going on. So this is the actual challenge that folks are working on right now. So the description starts with, CloudKicks wants to build a screen flow that displays 10 accounts that have the highest number of open cases. In the data table that you're going to create, the user should be able to see the following. We want to see the account name and the number of open cases. It sounds simple, but let's keep going. The list of accounts should be sorted in 2 methods, a primary and a secondary sorting method in the order listed below, where the primary sort is the number of open cases, so the one with the most at the top, and then the secondary alphabetical. So if there are 2 accounts with the same amount of open cases, then go ascending alphabetical. And then we give them a hint, and we'll talk a little bit about that because there's some discussion on that. And ultimately, what they need to be able to submit is they need to submit a couple of things to us. But when it's time to submit, they'll need to select a 3rd account from the list that gets generated. Everybody uses the same data set. So when they set up, we delete all of their data and insert our own FlowFest competition data. So everyone has the same data set. And we have to go ahead and provide they'll need to provide us with the average number of open cases or the average number of open cases for all of the accounts with open cases, and then the count of open cases for the 3rd account and the account name for the 3rd account. So let's go ahead and try to bring back the flow. Feel free to shout out your passion for free flow versus freeform versus auto layout. I'm tempted, but I'm going to switch back. It's the auto layout in me. I'm going to have to switch. So this is the actual flow. This is the actual flow that we're looking at. Folks can do it in maybe their own different flavor, but this is ultimately what we're doing. And this flow touches a lot of different key flow functionalities. And so the first thing that we do, again, we have to get all of the cases that are open. So I try to mention to everyone, I'm in dark mode, but I know the elements are generally pink. As a rule of thumb, I try to tell everyone, the less amount of pink that you use, the better. And especially within the latest releases of Salesforce, you have now filter elements, and you have in and not in collections. So instead of having to do multiple get records, like, oh, get me all the open cases, give me all the open cases for this account, give me all the open cases that the origin is this, and give me all the open cases that the origin is that. Find the most that you can get. So in this case, we're going to get all of the cases that are not closed, and then afterwards, we're going to do what we need, and we can reutilize this multiple ways without having to use get records and count on your limits. So I don't know if Pete's around, but if Pete, if you want to jump in and give your 2 cents on this one as we're going through the example. So once we have all of our cases, what we want to do is that we want to loop all of these cases. Why? What we're going to do is that we're going to take the account ID for all of these cases. So case belonging to company A, open case belonging to company B, open case belonging to company C. And what we want to do is that we want to add all of those account IDs into a text collection, which is, we're calling it account IDs. So effectively, we're adding all of those. Then what we're going to do is that we're going to do the get of accounts. And this text collection is going to be crucial now, because we talked about filters, and the filters will come. But another recent functionality release that you have is that you can now use what's called the in and the not in operators, which basically now we say, hey, let's get all of the accounts where the account ID is in the text collection that we have created. So the idea is now that we're getting a very targeted, specific set of accounts. So once we get that, we want to set the count of accounts. So this could be done in different ways, but what effectively we're doing, and there's another very commonly used feature here, is that we take 2 variables that we're calling count of accounts, and these are number variables by the pound sign, and the number of cases. So when it comes time to calculate the average that we're looking for, this is going to become crucial. So we're looking at our average number of cases here, and we're going to have to use a formula later on. But what we do, instead of looping through every single collection and doing add +1, add +1, a lot of folks don't know that you can do equals count. This is an operator that is not that frequently used, and it'll save you a ton of time if you want to find out how many records you have in a collection, or how many items, be it text values, that you have within a collection. And you can save yourself a lot of time. And in a time-based competition like FlowFest, time is critical. So once we have that, then we do our second loop. So the first one was just to build this collection of accounts so we could have the in operator properly established. What we're looking to do now is that we want to go ahead and loop. And this time, we're going to loop the accounts that we found. And here's where the tricky bit comes. So we're going to loop, or another tricky bit, the clever bit comes. Every time that we loop, right? So we're going to loop each individual account. We're going to take a filter element, and we're going to take all of those open cases, right? Remember all of the open cases that we took? We're going to basically take that and run that through a filter every single loop. And what we're going to do is that we want all of the cases, all of the open cases that we got, I want only the ones where the account ID equals the ID of the account that we're currently looping. So now, if the goal is to show the number of cases that each account has, well, guess what? Here you are, nice and easy. So the next piece is a bit of a clever bit. So now, what do we do with that information? So effectively, what we do is that we have to take that number, right, equals count, and we say, hey, the number of cases from our element before, which we called filter cases, we have to store that somewhere. Now, this is a bit of an interesting one. In a perfect world, in a real life scenario, you'll likely create a field in Salesforce that says, number of open cases, and you're going to place that on the account record. If you wanted to store that information somewhere, sometimes you may not want to. If you just want to display it as a data table, maybe on the home page for users, you may not want to save that information. If you don't want to update or create information with it, might not even be necessary to create the field. But if you do, you would create that field. Because this is a time-based competition, and I'm curious when we finally have a chance to review what all the competitors have done with care, what we've done is that we use the number of employee fields, because all you have to do is technically store that. For display purposes, all you would have to do is display it in a number field. So we took the number field that we could find. We know the number of employees. And then we're putting that number of open cases in the number of employees. And we're not modifying accounts here. We're not modifying. All we're doing is that we're taking that number for half a second and just putting it there. And what we do is that we start a brand new collection of what we have, of what we're doing. And we add that to this account collection, which is ultimately the collection of data that we're going to display. So again, can't stress enough, we're not modifying data. Then more recent features of Salesforce, and this is what we really liked about this challenge, you have a sort. And a lot of folks don't know, and even I realized late, the sort, yes, you can do a sort, but then there's a then. So we do the primary sort from the number of employees descending, which represents the number of open cases. And then you can add a next level, like you can add these sort options, so you can do multiple levels of sorting. And then we do by name ascending. And because we only want the top 10, what we do then is that we only keep the maximum number of items of 10, so we can respectfully bring 10 accounts over. Once we have that, we have the data table that we've created. And the only piece that I'll highlight here is that when we've created the data table, for those that have played around with it, you can go ahead and go into the columns. And you see here, there's a column for employees. What have we done? Here's the source field. You can apply your own custom label. So for the sake of the competition, we can change the custom label. So yes, this is the number of employees field, but we're not looking to do any information with it. We're not looking to manipulate any information with this. So for display purposes, we want to display this as the case count. So here we are. It sounded simple. It sounded straightforward. And I know it's as simple as a SQL query. But if we wanted to do this in a visual way for our users, something you want to put in a home page or whatever it is, the use case that you want to do, you could do something like this to be able to quickly display the information that you want and go from there. So what the good thing about this challenge, just as a recap, is that we have worked with in operators, we have worked with data tables, we have worked with sorting and multiple levels of sorting. So we got a chance, and we worked with filter elements. So this is a very well-rounded example that really got to test our competitors in quite a few different methods and really put their skills to the test. The second one, I won't go through it because we don't have time today. We'll do a video walkthrough for those that are curious, but it's an actual HTTP call out, as I mentioned earlier. So we'll get a chance to do a little bit of that as we go. And then ultimately, if anyone wants to see, I don't know if the debug is going to load on the screen. Let's see if I can share this tab instead and see if it's going to like what I have. All right. So here is your final results, and let's just go ahead and quickly zoom in. And this is what it looks like. So now I have all of my top 10 accounts with the most open cases sorted, descending first, and then you see all the ones that have 3 open cases, then ascending after that. Same thing for the ones that have 2. So overall, this is the kind of stuff that we're looking for as we're trying to put a challenge to our folks, and ultimately be able to use this as an educational lesson for you so you understand the different functionalities. I even forgot to mention there was the equals count that we were using. That's a commonly used feature that, again, will save you a lot of time. So with that said, I hope you enjoyed this. I don't have the power to bring back folks, but I will summon Ben with all of my powers and see if we can magically make Ben has appeared. Haha. Welcome back, Ben.
Hello, hello.
And I will need a couple of minutes just to check in with the rest of the folks and see how we're doing and see if we can get folks to our head-to-head competitors to start coming in as we'll start setting up. So I will be right back. Give me 1 second.
All right. Thank you very much, Eric. So yeah, we are. I do see some people that have completed them, so they're coming through slowly. I know there's always a hard thing to do is create the challenges, kind of, you know, somewhere in the middle between being easy and hard. But of course, it's all a bit of subjective. So these ones this time are turning out to be a bit more challenging. I think they've taken our competitors about an hour. We should have them on the stream quite soon.
So, and I don't know if there's a way for me to get some presentation control here, or at least to control the screens of our competitors, because I don't seem to have them. But otherwise, we'll need someone to guide us through what they're seeing.
Yeah, no worries. We can sort that.
All right, so, and we have some folks who's joining in the background. For those that are joining in the background, I can't see your screens yet, but feel free to start sharing your screens so that way we are ready to go with the final challenge. And I have the link, actually I should have the link to the final challenge ready. And so that way we can be ready as soon as we can.
Are people meant to be joining?
Nope.
Can't see anyone just yet.
All right, people are supposed to be joining in. We have shared the instructions with them. Let's make sure we can get them in.
Iris is just asking where people will be able to access the video walkthroughs that you mentioned, Eric.
Yeah, that's a great question. So what we're looking to do is that we're really trying to beef up. And actually, I'll try to share my screen again. So for those of you, actually everyone here, or for those that are on LinkedIn, for watching us on LinkedIn or watching us on YouTube. So we, especially in the last couple of, in the last FlowFest, what we've done is that we've started a experience site. We've had an experience site since day one, trying to build everything we can in Flows. And then basically, yep, thank you for bringing that up, Ben. So if you haven't gone there yet, the website is www.flowfest.fans. We are putting all of our information there. We want to put all the walkthrough videos there. This is the base. This is the center where you can register for upcoming FlowFest. We'll be uploading the video walkthroughs, everything there. You can, and hopefully the competitors, which is new for this one, the competitors can check their submissions directly here to see if they got things right correctly. And ultimately, hopefully, in the not too distant future, we can even open this for you, the participants, to be able to come here and register yourself so you can take the same challenges that these competitors are battling through and at your own pace with walkthrough videos and everything, be able to increase your skill set with flows by tackling some of these challenges yourself. So it's a great question. Highly recommend everyone go whenever you get a chance. And then whenever FlowFest V6 gets announced, make sure you know where to go to register. And again, I think for now we've had, this is what, 8,600, almost since FlowFest V5, we had almost 8,600 folks register. So this, and over 106 countries. Companies is TBD because we're trying to work on some cool functionality, maybe using some data tables, because companies, everyone can put open text. We want to try to do some suggestions if you start typing your company name to be able to pull your company and try to keep it as consistent as we can to avoid some duplicates. And but yeah, if you register, again, you can see we try to have as much fun as we can here to try to do this as big or as much with flows as we can. So and here you'll get to see, again, all of the information. Anything that we have we'll be posting here. So that is the big piece. And I am just quickly checking in. I see that we're getting a few folks joining. And I may need to jump out for 1 second so I can come back. And I will be right back.
All right.
So I can then be the host of the competition. Give me one.
Sounds good. See you in a sec, Eric. We have Caleb in the background who is going to be joining just in a second. And we'll wait for Eric to rejoin and just finalize the last few competitors. So thank you very much for your patience. We should be going to the head-to-head very, very soon. I don't know about anyone else, but I've been to quite a few Salesforce events over the past few months. And for me anyway, there's a bit of a break now before Dreamforce, which I am really looking forward to. Although I am dreading the kind of dream flu you get afterwards after being after going to events non-stop for 3 or 4 days and then and going out most evenings as well. If you haven't been to Dreamforce, it is a lot of fun. Definitely a bucket list item, but it is exhausting.
Aha! I am back. Can you guys hear me? I am back, and now I have superpowers. And I did not get a chance to. Catch up, but I see a couple of our competitors are joining. So congratulations to those that are making to the top 4. Now I can see everyone here, and I can see the comments. Ooh, this is a fun view. I got a lot of superpowers here. All right. So I am not monitoring the comments, but see a couple of nice use filters. So I like this. Appreciate it, Will. Does anyone know how long experience Eric has as a Salesforce admin? I got a couple of interesting questions here. I have been around this for 2010, 13 years. Does that make me a dinosaur in Salesforce age? I know some folks have been around since like early 2000s. Ben, when did you start with Salesforce? When did you get involved in this ecosystem?
2012. So just over 10 years. Yeah, it's just, I think it's when Marketing Cloud got acquired.
Fair enough. All right, so let me see here. And I know we have some. We're waiting for some of the folks to come in. Let me see. All right. Let's see. need some background music here or something.
I'm
I'm a dinosaur. Jody from 2002. Jody is, I'll give a shout out to Jody. She's awesome, and great content from her as well. She's always posting some good stuff on LinkedIn. There's a lot of folks here that have been here for quite a minute. So
I'm very intrigued to see what countries our finalists are from, and whether we're bucking the trend this time.
Caleb, where are you joining in from? Caleb, I see you in the background with the thumbs up. I'll bring you on board while we're getting everyone set up. All right. Hi. Caleb, welcome. You are a Final Four finalist. Where are you coming from today?
I'm here in Austin, Texas.
Nice. We got the U.S. Being represented here. Yep. All right. So I'm trying to coordinate in the background here to make sure I understand why folks are not being able to join in. It's just a link, but we're trying to get things going. Appreciate everyone for the patience as we're going through the technical difficulties of figuring this out. 2008, I feel old. Admin since 2011. There's a lot of folks here that have been here for quite a while. It's funny how time's flying by, and it's like the folks. Hey, some folks are cheering for you, Caleb. An American finally. We got and last time I remember, if I vaguely remember, it was a battle between, because Yumi won Israel, representing Israel for the first time, and the final battle was between Israel, the U.S., I think. France, who ultimately took it, and I think Italy. That was the final four. So let's give Caleb. Hopefully, we get a good shout out for you here, and you got a good chance. So, have you for those that aren't aware, there's always dreaming events happening. But Caleb, Texas Dreaming, have you got a chance to stop by already, or?
No, I haven't had a chance to go yet. Maybe next year.
All right, sounds good. I know a lot of folks went this year, and they had a really good time. And as I'm waiting for more folks to join, do you want to give a quick walkthrough of your thought of the challenges so far?
Yeah, I can. Let me remind myself. I already closed it. Let's see. So the first one had us go through all of the accounts in the org and count their cases. So that involved using a collection filter to get the cases for each account, and then using a collection sort to display them in the right order on the screen. So you want to make sure you do all that. Do a query within the loop. And then you also have to track a whole bunch of variables because you need to get the average number of cases. So you needed one collection with all of the accounts, I believe. That might not have been needed, but this one did. Another collection with just the accounts that had a case on them. And then you add those together, also count the number of accounts total, and then divide them to get the average. So that was an extra requirement. Nothing too crazy on that one, just a bunch of things you got to keep track of. Second one was pretty crazy. I have never done that. It's using the new HTTP callouts feature that was just added a couple months ago in the summer 23 release. And I knew about it, but I haven't had a use case for it yet. So I knew where the button was, and I just guessed from there, and things kind of fell into place. The biggest thing that tripped me over was the use of the Apex defined variable, something I also have never used before. But I had to do a quick Google, like how do I get the output from this thing? So I had to assign it to an Apex defined variable, and then I can get the output from there.
All right. And overall, so is this your first FlowFest, or had you competed before?
No, I did number 2. This is my second.
Okay, cool. So congrats. And I'm still waiting. I'm still trying to understand why a couple of folks are struggling to join. I know we have the list of folks. I'm trying to get an update here if it's a technical difficulty or what happened. I mean, I've used the link. I know you're here. Should be a fairly straightforward one. But as I'm looking, I see someone else joining in. I see Joshua. Joshua, I see you on the screen. Do you mind if I bring you on? Quick thumbs up if you're okay to come on. All right. So we got our second finalist here as we kind of get going. Joshua, welcome.
Hi, everyone. Happy to be here.
Where are you coming from today?
So I'm from Israel. I work in a Salesforce partner. And
okay. Good stuff. So we got Israel again. Israel maybe get a chance to win back the title here. In the steps in Yumi's footsteps. So, and we have speaking of FlowFest winners, Simon can or I still don't know if it's Simon or Simone. I remember it was the funniest thing last time because I can't remember. Do you mind if I bring you on? Thumbs up if you want to come on. Hey, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, going great.
Welcome. So did anybody, since I know you were on the judging side, I found out already we have one from the US, one from Israel. What else do we have? Is France back on the Final Four this time? Do you happen to know?
Right now, no, I don't know. I think no French this time. So we are done with France winning.
Fair enough. And then I see a couple of folks. I see Chris has joined in. Chris, welcome, Chris. Feel free to give a quick shout out. Where are you at today? Where are you coming from today?
Hey, everyone. I'm calling in from Missoula, Montana.
Ooh, 2 Americans, or 2 in the US.
Yeah. I had no idea I was going to actually make it in. Like, I sat there for 10 minutes thinking I had passed and realized one of them just wasn't passing. So I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks for being here. We're missing just one more and we'll get it going. So Caleb, I do see that you got your screen sharing already. For the folks, before we kick this off, I can start kind of walking through some of the basics, but make sure to share your screen, Chris and Joshua, so that way once we go live, we will be once we go live, we will be sharing your screens, or we want to be able to bring your screens in to see the work that you're doing, and we can commentate to all of the folks. Some observations we're making. We won't be doing any answers, so I highly recommend you mute the crap out of us. Just bring the volume down, because otherwise we'll just be like 10 people talking over your heads, and we'll try to avoid that as much as we can. But glad to have you with us. Vanessa, I'm bringing you on. Welcome.
Hi. How's it going?
We are excited to kick this off. Vanessa, it's first off, I got to give you a big shout out. Thank you so much for joining in the team here. I know Warren introduced us, and really appreciate for all the help that you've given us and the feedback as we were putting the challenges together. For the folks that are listening in, like, we really put these challenges together. We go through, at least a handful of judges. I think we have like 6 or 7 folks that really got a chance to jump in on this Slack channel and help contribute. There's a lot of trial and error and a lot of working together to put these. So I'll bring Andy along as well. And we're one challenger away as we're waiting for them to join. So Andy, welcome. Another Flow expert. And Yumi, if you're good, I'll bring you as well. Yumi, how are you doing, my friend? We're like full house here.
That's great.
Sounds good. So Joshua, Caleb, I see both of you guys have the screens. I'll start taking you guys off so that way we can get you guys, already set up. I will give you guys the instructions as we kick it off. I'll start bringing things up on my end so that way we can start getting ready. And then equally, let me go ahead and start bringing everything up on my side so that way we have the challenges ready to go. And then for Caleb, for Joshua, for everybody here, I will post the challenge. I will post the challenge link on the private chat. I'll send a quick message. Challenge will be here. So that way you guys know where to look for it as soon as I post the challenge. And we're waiting on just the final. Okay, and then we have final one, who's Brent, and Brent's incoming. Let's see what we're gonna get, and then where are we here? Let me just grab the challenge. Yumi, Andy, any insights, or Vanessa too? Any insights? Oh.
Well, I think that these challenges were really creative. I think they really brought in a lot of the different features that have come out in the last couple of years and really kind of challenged whether or not you knew how to use them and use them effectively. I really love that the challenges are focused on best practices and really just understanding how to keep things efficient and keep your systems in the best possible condition. So I'm excited about what challenges the participants got to participate in this year, and especially looking at some of the reviews. There have been some really creative solutions. So far, loving what I see, and I'm excited to see this final head-to-head challenge and see what's going on.
All right, Yumi, what are your thoughts? And I think we now understand what the technical limitation is. So we're getting Brent on, and I appreciate everyone's patience that's watching in, so that way we can kind of get this kicked off. So Yumi, what did you think?
I think the questions were a little bit more difficult than the previous ones, but at the same time they were creative challenges. So, and it requires them to use the new features of Flow, which is HTTP callout. So I'm happy with the challenges.
I will jump in. Brent, welcome. I see you here. I'll bring you on screen for half a second if you're okay. So Brent's here. Brent, welcome. I'm ready. We finally have the 4 ready. Let's kick this off. If you can just share your screen, Brent, make sure that it stays shared while we're going. But Brent, really quick, first off, welcome. Congrats to making the final 4.
Ready?
And where are you at today? What country are you supporting?
Proudly Canadian, here in Toronto, Ontario.
Okay, nice. So we got Canada in the mix too. Cool. Very exciting. So Brent, I will bring down your video for now. I will go ahead and post the I'll post the challenge link, and then I'm also going to share my screen. I'm going to walk through it.
Once again,
but feel free to mute us, so that way we can we're not talking too much over you. So give me 1 second, and I will get all of the challenge links ready to go. I'll share with you guys. You guys already have the package. You guys already have the challenge. You guys have everything that you need. So effectively now, it's just going to be, you guys can get started as soon as I share this link here. It's going to be a challenge similar to the others. And where is it? Copy link. And I will paste it here. And you guys are good to go. And we are officially live with this one. I appreciate everyone's patience. It took us a minute, but we're live. And what I'm going to do right now is that I am going to share my screen in dark mode, and we can go through the final challenge. So for folks that love some super badges, let me go ahead and first pull Brent. I will add, who's listening? Let me add Melody. Melody, welcome. All right, so our competitors are live and they're going. Let me share my screen just to walk through the challenges. All of our spectators. Now we can finally get to the exciting stuff. Let me.
Eric, they need to. You need to share the doc.
Let me know. Is this? Yes. Here we go. All right. So for everyone watching, 1, I love dark mode. 2, so the final challenge. We walked through one of the challenges. You guys get to see this one. CloudKick wants a tool that would allow sales users to easily plan local outreaches to contacts and leads nearby when traveling to visit a customer account. The screen flow requires the following steps, and we're doing this basically super badge style. Like you have each one of the requirements that you have to meet. The first requirement is a very simple screen flow that you have to basically be able to enter in some information. The premise is we want to be able to have our sales folks be able to give me 1 second. There we go. Now we can. So effectively, the second, so the first piece is, again, basic screen element. We want our sales folks to be able to enter in who they're going to be visiting and when, right? And pick their customer account. And the use case I've actually come across on my consulting side a couple of times where, hey, if you're going to travel all the way to a client, let's find any prospects or any folks that are in the area, and let's try to visit them, right? We're already there. Let's make the most of the trip. The second requirement is to take the zip code that you've selected and check against the database to make sure that the zip code is good. Make sure that you have the right city and state for that individual that you've selected, just to make sure you're getting the right address. That'll also require an HTTP callout. The third one is once you have the state confirmed, once you have the address confirmed by the zip code on your HTTP callout, here's the tricky bit. Create a data table that shows not only the leads, but the contacts as well, all in one data table of how you're going to join all of that information of everyone that's within that state. So for those of the folks here that are listening in and have put together some data tables in the past, you know that the collection is object driven. So we're looking to our potential FlowFest champions to be able to enter in and tell us, right, and show us what they can do to unite it all in one data table. And then finally, what we want to do for the final requirement in our challenge and our super badge piece is that we want them to be able to select all of the leads and contacts that get returned. We provide them with a test contact to use on the debug, but we want them to select that individual. Once the whole process goes through, all of the leads and contacts in the same state as that person, we want to be able to have a task generated for that, for all of those, and each task associated to each lead or contact that is going to be visited. So with that, I see our competitors are already hard at work here. I see a lot of things going on. I've got my fellow commentators here. Let's go ahead and dive and take a look. I'll start with Melody. Melody, I haven't had a chance to talk to you in a minute. What did you think of the final challenge? Anything in particular that stood out to you as we start taking a look at what our competitors are doing?
Well, I think the concept of combining two objects to the same data table is like very creative and very interesting. And it's something that doesn't come as intuitive, you know, but once you get a hang of it, then you just kind of feel like, oh, why didn't I think of that solution before? So I think like people can definitely learn a thing or a few from this challenge. Me myself, learned something actually. Yeah, so I'm really excited to see how people are working on this.
Yeah, and Yumi, this is an interesting use case, and I think we were talking, and you've been through this use case before, right? Because we understand that we live in a world of leads objects and contacts objects, but if we're going to take a step back, I know we're all here in the Ohana. If we're going to take a step back and talk about the end users, the people that we build this stuff for, I mean, you know, they go insane when you try to explain to them the difference between a lead or a contact. They'll say, hey, I just want everything in one screen. has it been useful for you in your use case? Did you get feedback of having to implement something like this? Did it work well? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I actually built a flow like this before. I combined, again, leads and contacts in that specific case to one data table. So actually the customers want to see all the data in one place. They don't want to go to different screens, different tables. So actually there is also a point that leads and contacts have many common fields. So actually it makes sense to put these together in one data table.
Yeah, totally. And Andy, I don't know, I'm going to put you a little bit in the hot spot here, Andy. We were having a conversation on whether this idea of merging things together, however creative these folks get, that it's a little controversial because we're not sure if this is a best practice or not. I'll ask to Andy or to anybody that wants to jump in and share their thoughts, because I totally have seen the use case before as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually more of a purist in terms of the way I approach the low-code solutions. You know, I have also made statements before. I mean, one of the most popular requests recently, for example, is for record-triggered flows to show messages to the users when there's an error. Like, you know, people want to customize messages on the user interface coming out of a record-triggered flow. For example, I'm quite concerned about that functionality. I think that's coming. And I'm really concerned that people are going to create solutions that are going to tangle themselves up. And, you know, so we need to be very conscious of the solutions that we create and then, you know, make it easy, simple, maintainable, and flexible over a period of time. So I don't really like putting in the same collection like lead ID and contact ID together. But you know, that's a personal preference. So that's why when we reviewed this one over the weekend, Eric and I reviewed this one, I'm like, you know, I'm not sure I like this solution here.
And it's fair, right? The interesting thing about Salesforce is that we're always finding ways, right, to serve the purposes here. I'm following a couple of the action here going on. I see that a lot of the folks have gotten started with their first requirement. Seems like they got their first requirement already here. I see a couple of them. Joshua, we're looking at Joshua from Israel. I see that he's already got his. He went straight for he broke the auto layout and he went straight for freeform. Seems like they're trying to get the zip code. Let's see. Let's take a look. It's an interesting move that you need to get the zip code here. Let's see what. Oh, okay, so he's going for the HTTP callout to get the zip code. That's very interesting. So let's see. Let's take a look at our other competitors, see if they've made it to the step as well. Ooh, Chris from the US, from Cognizant. He's already on the get leads. He's already passed that. He's on requirement number 3. He's flying along. We didn't get a chance to see how he did on his requirement number 2. Let's see. What else have we got? And folks, feel free to jump in here on your end. So let's see what else let's see Caleb. Let's take a look at what Caleb is doing. Caleb's already well past it as well. So since we're past this moment, I'm curious to see, because I can't see the period before. So for those of you, well, folks watching aren't aware, but the requirement number 2, we talked about that we needed to do an HTTP callout. By design, it is the exact same HTTP callout that you needed to do in one of their challenges, one of their qualifier challenges. So they've done the work, and they could easily skip requirement 2 or skip complete requirement 2 by all they need to do is just call it as a subflow. I'm curious to see if this, I think 1 or 2 folks have gone to recreate the callout from scratch, which is certainly, you know, doable now that they know what they need to look for. But if you went for the subflow, it would have saved you a little bit of time in this time-based competition. So it'll be interesting to see how all of that's coming along. So I see a couple of folks getting all of this information. Let's see. And let's bring Tom in. Tom, welcome to the party.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So welcome back to we ride again in one more FlowFest. Let's see. We're looking at Caleb here, all the way from the US. Let's switch over to Joshua. Let's see. Joshua went for freeform. This is exciting. I see a lot of the folks commenting around. They're doing an amazing job. These guys are good. Like, these guys are quick in what they're doing. So there's a lot here that's kind of interesting going on. So let's see.
Actually, good to see that I'm not the only person that uses the freeform. Freeform.
Does anyone here still use, besides Yumi, does anyone still prefer freeform over auto layout?
I still like freeform. I like to have
All right. I'm curious for the folks watching in and everything. Let us know. Let us know if you're more freeform or auto layout. I'll tell you, I think I was one of the first ones to switch to auto layout, and especially when there was like cut and paste and everything. I mean, that was a big one. I will switch when I have to break something. I will switch to freeform just to cut ties and like reconnect. So yeah, I still love my the freeform or for its own purposes. But a lot of people.
For team auto layout, sometimes you need to switch to freeform. But for team freeform, we will never need to switch to auto layout.
Yeah, we see here. Well, no copy paste. Can you do copy paste on freeform?
Yeah.
Oh, you can do it now.
Can in the top.
Yeah.
Easily you can do that.
Nice. By the way, we also have Jim, which is our V3 FlowFest champion here, showing his support for auto layout. Have a couple here saying freeform is life. Yeah. So we definitely, it's a good mix. Yeah. The description on auto is great though. I don't know, is description not available? The hover over and the description on freeform, is that not available?
No, it's not. Only in auto layout.
I rest my case. I genuinely didn't know that. I didn't mean it to play it off like that. I genuinely didn't know, but like that is a game changer. Like I put descriptions on everything now. If there's something that has inspired me to start documenting more in descriptions. My God, like whenever there's a hard-coded ID that I'm trying to avoid that I don't have time to handle right now, and I'll be like, I'll come back later to this. I just put like a description, like hard-coded ID here or something. Or just if it's something that I know, because I think we're all guilty of it. Like there's things they do in a flow that you're like, I'll never remember this ever again in my life, and this will be like buried here forever. And like, I'm starting to get good at realizing when I have those moments in my life that I'm going to build a flow that I'll never look at it ever again. And I'll be like, all right, let me write why I did this insanity of a move right here. So that way someone understands, and they'll be like, who was doing this before? So, all right, let's do a quick check-in. I see these guys are running some assignments. Send temp contact. Ooh, I like the name of the variable here. Who are we looking at right now? We're looking at Joshua. Joshua has a temp contact right now. He's creating a temporary contact. We'll see how that plays out. I think he's in the right step here. We're switching over to Caleb. Caleb's gone pretty good as well. I mean, he's well into a sort. I see the sort element all the way over here. He's got quite a lot going on. He's almost there. I mean, he looks like he's almost there.
He's assigning a task.
He's well into requirement number 4. So I think it will be official. We will complete challenge 4 or the challenge number 3, the head-to-head challenge, faster than it took us to get people on StreamYard. That'll be a new record. So let's see. Let's take a look at Brent. Let's take a quick look at Brent and let's see how he's doing. He's got the leads, he's got the contacts, he's going through the screen. Okay, so he's well into, looks like he's well into requirement 3 as well. I think it was it Caleb is already on the assignment, temp task. Yeah, Caleb does look to be in the lead right now here with, at least compared to Brent. Let's take a look at Joshua. Joshua, I know, was pretty quick as well. It's so easy to figure out what people are doing when we're looking at freeform. All right, he is adding lead. Okay, he seems to be fairly ahead. He's joined records. All right, so here's an interesting moment. Join rec. Ooh, I think he missed the checkbox. Or is this the single variable? He missed the checkbox, didn't he? Or is he?
Yeah, that all important checkbox. Has to do it again.
The all important checkbox. So for everyone that's looking, we'll start revealing some of the stuff here. They're joining both leads and contacts. They're finding an object where there can be common ground, and they're joining it all together as one to display it in one data table. When you're selecting a data table, you'll have a collection. A collection is a bucket of information. However, that bucket of information must be of the same source of data. It has to come from the same object or a custom metadata type or whatever. It has to be the same. So when you're talking about 2 objects like leads and contacts, you have to do something to loop them together and get them to play ball under the same common terms. I don't know if anyone here wants to jump in. And Warren Walters, Master Judge.
Hello. How's it going?
For everyone joining in, Warren Walters, I mean, this is like an army of MVPs and FlowFest champions and everything. But Warren is the big one that helps us run things in the back end, helps us manage all of the competitors. So welcome, Warren.
Hello, hello. It's nice to, well, I mean, I was just hanging out with most of everybody, all of the judges. So, yeah, we have to have a star-studded cast to really get this going and have everything come to life, which is really cool. So I know we'll probably take a second and at the end and kind of thank everybody for hanging out. But I think this FlowFest is going really well. Let's see how the final competitors do with the last things that they're knocking out here.
Yep. So this is a collection sort. They're doing a collection sort, carefully reading all of the instructions. Let's see if this view helps out a little better. Oh, this could work a little bit better, actually. So let's run with this. Right. So for those that are watching, let us know if this view works better. Let's see. So we're looking right now at, fake contacts. Add to lead collection. Okay, so this is what we're talking about. Here's the merging that is literally happening. Who are we? Let me just double check. We're looking at, this is Chris. So looking at Chris's screen, he's feverishly now working on displaying the data table. He basically went through joining everything. And again, at this point, I think I'm not giving anything away for our competitors. Hopefully they muted us as well. But we're at a point where you can take either the lead or the contact object, create a brand new collection for either lead or contact, and just loop both the leads that you got and the contacts that you found, both of those collections. So you have leads within that state, collection 1. Contacts within that state, collection 2. Then you start a brand new collection 3 where you're going to loop the first 2 and add all of them into that new collection 3. You can choose whether you want leads or contacts as a collection type because they share the same fields, first name, last name, and so forth. And for those that were here early on, we walked through challenge 33. We talked about how there is the clever trick of storing information, like we stored the total number of cases in the number of employees field of an account just because it's a number field. It's a similar thing here. You can take a text field like title for example, if you're not going to use on your data table, you can take that information and you can just call that type. And with a formula, be able to, I'm starting to get concerned because he's hovering over title. I don't know if he's like listening to what I'm saying. And like, I will start being quiet. I thought they put me on mute.
I find that super interesting because I know when we were reviewing these questions, and I think Melody mentioned it as well when she was in here, but I've never really thought about doing this in Flow, but I think a lot of you know I come from a development background, and this sort of thing where you can add things together happens pretty often, right? So it's really cool to see that you can do similar things in flows, which makes sense, right? Because I guess under the hood, flows is just code that gets spit out. It's just a visual way of dealing with code, but it's really cool to see things that you wouldn't traditionally think of, and how FlowFest always pushes, you know, the ideas and best practices every time.
Yeah, no, it definitely is.
Yeah, and I was seeing that a little bit in the challenges as well as I was judging them. That I was kind of like, well, this isn't how I would do it, but this is kind of still a valid output as well. Like you still got the same result. There are lots of different ways to achieve the same thing. And I guess that's with Salesforce in general, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And
there's always more correct ways of doing things, but there's definitely ways of doing them.
Well, there's always pros and cons, you know.
Yeah.
I think it's something that we are always looking in for discussion, right? I think that as Trailblazers, as people, as we're on the front lines, whether as a consultant building solutions or whether as an admin building solutions for our teams, we're trying to find clever ways to use what's within our reach. Sometimes we may find things that could be arguably not a good practice, right? Or you have to be very careful. For anyone that's interested in subscribing, to be very careful with what you're about to do in Salesforce newsletters. Go to Yumi's website, because Yumi has made flows do some things, or some Apex sections that can do some things that are truly kind of like, with great power comes great responsibility type of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, Yumi, do you want to talk about really quick the one? Oh, Caleb is waving his hands. Caleb, are you done? Caleb is done.
Yeah, he says.
All right, Caleb, let's bring you here. Caleb, you're done. All done. All right, let's take a quick look. And other competitors, Joshua, Chris, everyone else, can continue on, because if for whatever reason Caleb has anything wrong, this is going to go back. All right, let's really quick take a look and see. Can we debug first? And I want to see the total number of, and if you could zoom in for us as well, just for the sake. I want to see what is the, let me just quickly switch maybe to the side. 6. Okay, that's off to a good start. That is off to a good start. Let's take a look. Can we take a look at the, let's start just walking quickly around. So you've started by getting, let's take a look.
Sorry, can we, do we have time to run the screen flow? Just run it like,
yeah, let's
like
run the screen flow. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I think most folks, we see everything being built, but we're like, what does it actually look like?
That's true. So this was the sample record, right, that we talked about? Can we zoom in just a little bit, just for the sake of everyone watching? Yeah. All right, so first requirement, have the data visit the contact that we're visiting. So let's go ahead and click next. So here is everyone in the state of Oregon, and you have the types properly indicating whether they're leads or contacts. Okay, so now all you have to do is select the contacts and then click next. And presumably, there we go. Can we scroll up on the debug details? I'm very curious to see the tasks that get created. So here are the tasks: schedule possible office visit to Stuart Burgess. The subject is correct. Everything looks good. Activity date looks correct. That we didn't have a set activity or a set date, but you used today's date, and that's perfectly fine. The who ID is correct. You're passing the who ID, where I see the who ID in some cases being the contact, the 003, and I see some examples where it's the lead, the 00Q. So can we take a quick look back in the flow? So for everyone to take a look at it, if you can zoom in just a little bit, I want to do a quick walkthrough top to bottom. So do you just want to, Caleb, do you want to take a quick description of what you've done top to bottom? You don't have to go and do a full breakdown, just walk through the elements for those that are watching.
Sure. So first I had to get the inputs as requested. Quick note that even though the contact is going to the account object, there is no standard lookup field to a contact on the account. So I use the one from the case. It doesn't really matter because we're going to take the output from that and do whatever we want with it. Then I use the get records element to get the state from that contact and every other field, but we just need the state. We do the call out, which was something we learned how to do in the previous challenge. So I enter the mailing postal code as the input, take the output from that, put it into a variable, a Apex defined collection variable, which is the only thing that you can put that into. We then loop through that, the Apex defined collection variable. And the only thing we need to do there is there's only one record being returned. You need to do the loop just to get it out of the collection, but you store it into a variable called state. So then we get all the leads and contacts. And I think, so another thing we did in the previous challenges was save information into just a random field, but it's not going to the actual objects. We're not deploying these records. So in this case, I just looked for some text fields. So first name, last name, mailing street are the same. Let me back up a second. This is a collection of contacts. So the contacts are going to contacts, but the leads are also being converted into contact variables. So we got the first name, the last name, the mailing state, but then I stored the account name in assistant name and the type in the department field, just so we had someplace to hold it. I also didn't originally store the ID until I got to step 4 and it said I needed the ID. So I had to go back and like make room for it. So pro tip, store your variables into a collection in a different element. That way, when you need to add more variables, you don't need to like keep moving it downwards. Someday they'll have like an up and down arrow here. And then I also made sure to clear out the variable just in case there are any fields that were blank on another record. So not sure that was required, but I cleared out the variable with a blank contact. Yeah, and then I did the same thing for leads. Again, leads on the right side, left side's the same, but right side is different. We have to do the lead here. This one, the lead doesn't have a lookup to account. It just has a field called company. So it's just some Salesforce knowledge. And yep, so that's that. Then we sort it because the table had to be sorted in alphabetical order. So that's simple. Did the table. At this point, building the table was easy once you have the collection together. Yeah, so zooming in doesn't work very well. But yeah, I showed it. Interestingly, the requirement said it had to be able to select multiple rows. That's actually the default option. So I didn't do anything there. But then again, I added the assistant's name. I did make sure to change the custom label here to say account so that someone running the flow wouldn't realize that I used fake variables. Same thing with mailing, not with mailing state, but with department. And then we created the task. So just standard stuff here. You create them, put them into a variable so that you don't run the query within the loop. So fun fact, you don't need to use a variable, a formula here. You can just kind of type it out just like this. So I actually just create another row to get the variables and copy and paste them in there. That part's easy. Again, Salesforce knowledge, you have to know who ID is where contacts and leads go. And then put into a collection, counted them, created the task, and submitted.
Yeah. So listen, I don't think there's anything else to say. Caleb, you are the FlowFest champion, my friend. And the US, for the first time, takes the crown. So congratulations. It's awesome effort. I see here, I'll bring over some of our folks. I'll bring everyone in. Let's go ahead and just, all right. And then let's see who else. And I'll bring Andy into the mix as well. So guys, I know we had some issues, but this was awesome. It was really, really great getting to watch all of you guys. So Caleb, a big congratulations. A big congratulations to all of our participants as well. We'll get you guys a certification voucher courtesy of Trailhead Academy. But I mean, whoever wants to go first. I know we're over time. I know we got a ton of people blowing up in compliments and everything. But anybody wants to put in their 2 cents, their impressions.
Well, really great job in saving yourself some time and just realizing that the subflows were a lot easier to just kind of use as your advantage. And that's the main thing that's a takeaway, right? We all have to build automation, but it's about following those best practices and saving yourself some time. So well done, especially showing all of us, and all the steps were done very well. So kudos to you.
Congrats.
I'm just thinking about that a little bit, like looking at this challenge kind of with a fresh pair of eyes. I'm thinking campaign member rather than doing this mashup, because that object has relationships with contact and lead already. Could you have done it that way? And then I'm thinking, well, if you did do it that way, you would then have to create a campaign and like have the campaign ID against the campaign member. It would have maybe been a little bit more tricky. Any thoughts on that, anybody?
I think I don't know if you'd have enough spare fields to store the type, like for example, like how they use department to hide to put the type of lead or contact. That's the only thing that comes to mind.
Campaign member has that already, I'm pretty sure, natively.
Does it? Okay.
Yeah.
If it has the information, I suppose you could, but the first and last name, they're not formula fields or something like that. Like you can actually store information in there. I'd be curious. I mean, that's the beauty of flows. Everyone can find different ways.
Yeah.
I don't see a type member.
Yeah. Joshua, what'd you think?
I'm still trying to finish this, but I was also actually thinking about campaign member, but it wouldn't actually, I don't think, help us much because it doesn't really have all of those fields, so it doesn't really matter if we. It's a better idea to use lead because it has the company field. I missed that, and I had to find like the phone field or something to store that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, lead is a better choice.
Yeah, yeah. I know some of the folks. Brent, what'd you think?
This was a fun set of challenges. I'll admit I didn't expect the inclusion of a name credential endpoint call out to do address validation on the fly. I mean, I think a lot of people here today were probably surprised by that. It was actually a really fun inclusion. And again, the idea of mashing up multiple object types, again, was this makes me think, wouldn't it be great, as far as Flow has come, if we could have something like a generic S object type just to be able to do kind of generic places to hold this types of data, may have made things easier than attempting to bend, it's a lead that's a contact, it's a contact that's a lead, or a campaign member, whichever. But again, like definitely an opportunity to get creative, and I enjoyed the heck out of it. So again, thanks to the entire team for putting on a great show this time.
Yeah, appreciate the awesome words. Out of curiosity, between the 4 finalists, how many of you caught on? First of all, how many of you caught on that the call out could have been used with the subflow? You could have called your past flow as a subflow, and how many did any of you actually use it as a subflow? Because I saw some of you created the call out again from scratch.
No.
Never crossed my mind, but now that you mention it, when you create the collection variable, you have to choose the Apex class. And I'm like, oh, which one is it again?
Yeah.
Turns out it doesn't matter, right? It's either one.
Right.
Yeah, I went into build mode and rebuilt it. Again, when you have, and again, halfway through it, I'm like, oh, I'm such a dummy. So I missed that opportunity, and it probably cost me a couple minutes.
Yeah. No, we were thinking about that. And we're kind of like, yeah, we wonder if they're going to catch on to it. I was like, so it was a very cool exercise to see how that would have how that worked out. And for everyone that's watching, like I was watching Caleb, I saw a comment that Caleb like talks as fast as he builds flows. And I was like, I feel like we're gonna go back and watch the whole section that he walks through the flow in like 0.25 speed once this is like available on like LinkedIn or YouTube as a recording. So, guys, I know that we're a little bit over time. We appreciate everyone's patience, everyone that stuck around to get the head-to-head round started. We will be announcing, I'm sure, FlowFest V6, but give us some feedback. Feel free to post your experience. Caleb, once again, to all the competitors, to all the guys here that made it to the final 4, as well as you, Caleb, congratulations. You're the new FlowFest champion, and we'll now representing the US for for the time to come. So, any final thoughts from anyone, or should we just anyone? All right. Well, guys, I appreciate you all. Thank you all for the judges. Thank you all for spectating. Thank you all for participating. I really, really appreciate it. These are some of the most fun events that I've gotten the honor to host. So for everyone, check out FlowFest.fans, www.flowfest.fans. We will be posting video walkthroughs there. We'll be posting the next FlowFest there. We'll be posting Caleb's mugshot there with his brand new FlowFest Champion title. And until the next time, keep working your flows, keep working your trailheads. We'll see you guys at some events. Feel free to reach out to any of these guys. They're all amazing resources in the Salesforce Ohana when it comes to flow. I know ChatGPT is all the rage and everything, but you still need to build flows to tell ChatGPT what to do with it. So continue on working on this fun declarative tool. Thank you all so much, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Goodbye.